Hi Andrew, how are you? Would you believe I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and I thought, why don't I pick you up and we go for a DEX drive? How do you feel about that? Okay, see you in 20 minutes. Take care. Hi Andrew.
Hey, Mike, how are you? Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Welcome to Colorado.
I think I came on a really nice day.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
Spectacular.
the snow is gone, and now you can see the mountains.
Yeah,
So
it's very, very beautiful.
yeah,
As an analyst, you get the privilege of talking to a lot of business leaders, IT leaders in all parts of the market, really, and having those conversations. What are the big trends you're seeing and hearing about when it comes to DEX?
I'm talking to more and more CIOs, VPs, SVPs about the importance of DEX.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks today are really seeing the value of employee experience on their overall business.
Right.
So 60% of the IT decision makers that we've recently surveyed say employee experience is a top priority from an IT perspective over the next 12 months. And so for me, even though we have a lot of this pressure from, potential economic downturns, cost cutting, those types of things, what's really getting me excited and keeping me enthusiastic about this space is that it feels like people are still really invested in employee experience. So from a trend perspective, we're obviously seeing that prioritization starting to play out, but we're also starting to see people really lean into operationalizing digital employee experience and making this a reality, whether it's through automation of a lot of the experience issues, whether through fielding all sorts of different surveys to uncover the sentiment. And people are just getting a lot more sophisticated in terms of how they bring this to their workforce and actually start to change things, which is great. We've seen it for a long time in our research, and what we're starting to see from CIOs and other business leaders is a recognition that digital employee experience plays into that broader question around how do I deliver value for my customers? Right. If you think about some of the things like the recent, airline meltdowns, where flights were canceled, stock price took a big dip, huge, cost implications for airlines if they're canceling flights. A lot of those issues were related to digital employee experience and actual technologies that weren't enabling people to be successful. And so if you can start to connect what's happening from a DEX perspective all the way to that business outcome, to that customer experience, that's when this really starts to have a dramatic impact on how businesses are able to thrive, really.
So one of the things I've seen in this market in the last year, perhaps partly down to the economic pressures with the macroeconomic environment, is there is a real focus on driving outcomes, real business outcomes.
Totally.
Cost, not just cost saving, but revenue generation, improved user satisfaction, customer satisfaction, etc. But do you have any examples of some of those outcomes that DEX is driving?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what I usually talk about with our clients at Forrester is, if you're thinking about the value of DEX, how can I translate this into the fundamentals of what your business is trying to do?
Yeah.
In the example of an airline, I'm going to invest in DEX not because it reduces my help desk ticket and helps me automate things and save my support ratio and things like that. Those are important. It helps you get the check signed, to get the licenses paid for. But ultimately, it's about making sure that they have a really resilient environment that doesn't impact customers. It doesn't force people to have to miss flights and those types of things. So it's that translation into what is that business outcome. If you are, a large food production company or something, does investing in DEX allow you to sell more candy or more, pizza or whatever you're going to be bring out there? Does it enable you to actually do the thing that you are actually meant to do and focus on as a business? I think that's where that gap often occurs when I talk to people about the business case for DEX. But I totally agree that people are starting to get more savvy about making sure that they are very clear about what that outcome actually is. So
a topic I want to talk to you about, which is a hot topic at the moment in every part of the industry, which is AI and particularly ChatGPT. And how do you think about it from a DEX perspective?
From a DEX perspective, where I see a lot of opportunity is in shortening the amount of time it takes to go out and find an insight about what's happening on a device or on an app and actually fixing that. So AI, I think, can really play a strong role in terms of root cause analysis. Like if I have enough data on the back end to be able to say, here are all these different variables. We're looking at the historical data. We can correlate that, yes, this is one of the major issues that's causing an experience issue in your environment. Highlight that for me as an administrator. Cool, I'm off to the races. Like I get that way faster. So I think root cause analysis is one of the most difficult use cases for DEX today. AI, I think, can dramatically improve that.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side of that coin is on actually doing the remediation and suggesting things that are likely to fix the problem. So I think from an opportunity perspective, using AI to basically say, okay, here is our root cause. Let's run some algorithms that can tell us what the potential likely solution is. And really increasing that time to value for the IT administrator in terms of reducing how much time they're spending on RCA, but also reducing the amount of time it takes to actually fix things as well. So I think there's a huge opportunity there as well. So specifically in the DEX space, that's where I see the opportunity. I actually asked ChatGPT the other day, what are the benefits of digital employee experience? And it came back and it was pretty accurate in terms of the benefits.
How do you think it impacts IT jobs?
I think for a lot of the IT functions, it's going to be an augmentation because even if you have a lot of automation, there's still a need to do human checks on things, for stability reasons, for experience reason, right? So it'll take on more of the actual task, automating specific remediations and things of that nature. But I think at the end of the day, there's still always this human watching over that's making sure that, yes, this is the right automation. This is aligned to the business use case that we're looking at. Like all of that still requires a human. So I think it's going to be more assistive and augmented in nature than it is about replacing.
Yeah. If we're doing our job correctly with our platform and we're driving more and more automation, what do you think the long-term future is for service desk? Well, does service desk go away in the long term?
No, I don't think it goes away. I think what happens is that a lot of the lower level issues get automatically fixed, and the folks that are in L1, L2 are going to be focusing on more higher value, more difficult to solve problems. So there's always going to be things that are going to impact users that maybe there's no automation for yet. Maybe there's a new operating system update or hardware release, and we're going to need to adapt to that over time. So I think full automation of the entire environment is going to be difficult to achieve over time, but you want to increasingly improve the percentage of things that you're automating in the environment. And so that's one trend that I think comes out of that whole focus on self-healing automation. We end up focusing on more difficult problems. People need to become more technical to solve them.
Mm-hmm.
But the other side of the coin is that IT starts to take a more human-centric approach to delivering the services, and you become more business-centric in terms of how you think about what you're delivering to the end user. You become more empathetic in terms of understanding their sentiment, what they're needing.
And I think you've touched into it there. There is a real purpose to what we're doing here, which is really fundamentally changing how people work. And we created a new tagline. You may have seen it called Work Wonders.
Right, exactly.
And there's a couple of meanings to it. One is that our technology, we believe, works wonders for organizations. But it's also about the human element of we want people to have great experiences at work and from their technology and have a wonderful time doing it. So, and that's really what you're touching upon there. So I really do love the psychological angles of this. It's something that sometimes gets missed when you're busy talking about feeds and speeds and technical features.
Yeah. What I love about that tagline too is there's this perception that it just can't get any better.
Yes.
Like the issues that exist, like they are what they are. It's never going to be better. It can't be better. And that's what's cool. We can create this better environment. That's what's keeping me with my maximum enthusiasm is that we actually have the tools now to actually say, yes, we've improved the experience and we've made it easier for you to do your job, which is super cool.
If you could communicate one thing to the world about DEX, what would it be?
Ooh, one thing. And there's so many things. It makes it difficult to narrow it down. The thing that I would focus on is really that business outcome piece. And say, if we look at top priorities for decision makers today in IT, enhancing employee experience is number 6 on the list,
Right.
out of 15 or so priorities.
Yeah.
Things like privacy and security are higher, like operational agility, like reducing costs, customer experience. Those things are all higher. But if you want to achieve those higher level priorities, you need to have the really good foundation around employee experience. And so what I would say is that if you want to accomplish your broader business strategy, making sure that employees have a great experience with technology is really kind of step 1 to enabling the rest of your success as a business. So what makes people engaged, happiest at work is being productive, and not in a draconian sense, like, working all day, but being successful,
Right.
leaving every single day and feeling like, wow, I made a difference. I wasn't procrastinating. I was really focused on what I needed to do. If you look at a lot of the research, that's what really makes people engaged and feel happy at work.
Yeah.
So that was sort of insight number 1, that came from that early employee experience research. Insight number 2 is that what enables that ability to be productive, and it's the ability to self-regulate your attention for a long period of time. It's the ability to focus, to remain free of distraction, to be in what's called a flow state. In that state, it allows you to be, 1, super productive, but it also can make you feel very happy as well.
Right.
You're fully engaged. And so that was kind of the beginning. When I started to see that DEX could basically say, in that day-to-day basis, looking at that timeline of when someone comes into work to when they leave, and starting to isolate those specific events, those specific disruptions to end user experience, whether that was a operating system update that impacted your ability to present a PowerPoint, or a crash that happened on an application that you were working on and it was super frustrating all of a sudden, right? If you can start to isolate those moments of flow interruption with a DEX tool, then you're getting at the heart of what makes people engaged. If I have a technology environment that's basically a hot mess of distraction, that was actually one of the titles of one of the initial pieces of research. If you can get better insight into those interruptions, those distractions, you set that good foundation for flow, you set that good foundation for engagement, and then all of the other follow-on business benefits. So that's kind of how it developed, was from this psychological perspective, and then starting to apply that to specific technologies. So it's been a great ride. I mean, we've come quite a bit of time. I think it was probably 5 or 6 years ago I started thinking about this. And now to see it be a reality for many organizations is pretty awesome.